I started reading it like last week before we even finished up the other. And the Delilah, Samson, those two kind of been in my head. I've been playing around. They're like, what were they thinking? Why did they do this? How come they did that? You know, just kind of, and I've changed my ideas about a lot of stuff. It just, more I think about Delilah and Samson. And so Delilah we're not sure if she was Philistine or a Jew, kind of a renegade, because they said that her name comes from Jewish. I think it said it means one, meaning night. So anyway, they're not really sure if she might have been a Jew that's taken up with the Philistines, or if she was a Philistine that had a Jewish name. We don't know. But either way, she's in there. And there's a reason that she's in the Bible. We got to figure out what can she teach us. And so that's what I want to do this morning. We look and we find Samson, and it starts in chapter 13 of Judges. Yes, sir.
The book says she was a Philistine. Is that wrong?
Well, the book also, I thought it said that she was, maybe it's something I read online, that the name is a Jewish name.
Yeah, I read that too.
So, I mean, how many Philistines going to name their kid a Jewish name? I don't know. I just kind of I kind of threw it up in there, like I can go either way. Either way, she is what she is, and she's where she's supposed. She's there. We're going to find out what she does, and so I kind of like, I don't know. What does it make a difference? This is how she acts. But if she's in the book of Gentiles, so we're going to say she's a Gentile. So anyway, in chapter 13 of Judges, we have where Samson's mother is not named. She is told by an angel. She doesn't even know it's an angel. I thought that was strange in itself right there. A man comes up and tells you, you're going to have a kid. Well, I've been barren all my life. Well, who do you think he is? And so it was kind of just like the father, Manoah. Who was this guy? I think he was an angel. Are you sure? I don't know. There was a lot of questions right there at the beginning. And I guess at this time of history in the Jewish people, the Israelites, they don't have a leader. They do whatever they want to do, whatever's right in their own mind. That's the way they operate right now. So why would an angel show up at my door? That's the thinking I've got. But she is visited by an angel from God and told she's going to have a son. Who does that remind you of?
Mary.
Mary, yeah, a lot of this, she's been barren all her life, never had no kids, and now she's going to have a kid. You're going to have a son, and you're going to take and be a Nazarite. Now, somebody tell me what a Nazarite is, or the Nazarite vow. Yes, ma'am.
They can never cut their hair, and they can't have anything that is from a grape, from a vine.
Okay, nothing from the vine.
They can't marry. I don't think they can marry.
I don't remember that one. Nothing. You shouldn't have touched anything dead, which Samson kind of blew that several times, real quick. So there were certain vows that she took, was put on her, I guess, basically. You're not going to do this. And your son is not going to do such and such. One thing was, I think the only thing they put on him was, don't cut your hair. And I noticed you're just out of your vow right there. Greg got a haircut this morning. Well, I messed mine up last week. Yes, sir.
Another one is the Nazarites can't get married, but they were to abstain from grapes.
Anything from the vine. Yeah, that's what Tracy said. Yes.
So
I wonder why.
So the book is saying, and I kind of agree with it, that God kind of didn't apply that rule about dead people because he was using Samson to judge the Philistines, so you'd obviously be around dead people.
Or dead thing, anything dead.
Anything, yeah.
He blew that the first time before he even got started good when he killed the lion.
Yeah.
And then he come back the next day and the line is full of honey and honeybees. Well, you got to touch a dead animal to get to the honey. And I'm not even sure. I know that John the Baptist ate wild honey and locusts, but I thought that the bee was not a kosher insect. Anyway, he was under a vow not to cut his hair. I think that's the only thing that really applied to Samson. But there's a vow there, and that was from his birth. And they said that the Philistines had been tormenting, as we talked about in Deborah, for 40 years. That's a long time to have a tyrant, 40 years. That was the Canaanites with Deborah. This is a new set of people, a new set of emperors. There was actually 5 different cities of the Philistines, and they had 5 different kings, I guess, of the city-state. There were city-states back then. And it names the cities in the book, and that was where you had 5 different cities, 5 different kings, and they all fought as one. Okay? The vow is put on Samson. You don't cut your hair. He must understand this, because what did he do with Delilah? He kind of run around the thing. He tried to get around telling her the truth for 4 times. The 4th time he finally told her the truth. You cut my hair, I'll be like everybody else. I wonder, he had to be at least 20 years old. How long would that hair be? I mean, think about it. That had to be a problem, toting that stuff around for 20 years. Yeah, getting in a fight with a Philistine. Hang on a minute, let me wrap this thing up here. Okay, we're ready now. Yeah, it's just crazy. I know Connie cuts hair, and you can imagine somebody walking in and not had a haircut for 20 years. Yes. So this is who Samson is. He is typical male, in trouble most of the time. He doesn't restrain himself. Let's put it that way. He sees something, he wants it, including women. This is who Samson is. He doesn't mind going out of the country to a Philistine country, see a woman, like her. That's who I want.
And as a judge, he shouldn't.
Yeah. That was one of the basic rules of the Israelites. You don't intermarry with the other countries. He saw a woman, I like her. Tells mom and dad, go get her for me. That guy, he's just typical male. He's crude. He's basic, just nasty. And that's what I got thinking. Was Delilah all that bad, or was Samson? I got a note right here. I wrote it down. I'm not sure, but it's something I thought about, and I wrote down things I thought about. If you look in 1 Kings, chapter 3. 1 Kings chapter 3. That's chapter 4. Go do that again. Chapter 3, down to verse 3. Solomon. Now Solomon loved the Lord, walking in the statutes of his father David. He loved the Lord. Smartest man that ever lived. You turn over to chapter 11 of the same book. Verse 1. Now King Solomon loved many foreign women, along with the daughter of Pharaoh, the Moabite, Ammonite, Edomite, Sidonian, and Hittite women, from the nation concerning which the Lord had said to the sons of Israel, you shall not associate with them, nor shall they associate with you. For they surely will turn your heart away from after their gods. Solomon held fast to these in love. And I made the note here, I'm going to call Samson the dumbest man that ever lived. Because when you tell a woman, this is what my strength is, and she, hey, the Philistines are on him, and tested him 43 times, and he kept coming back and kept telling her different stories, and she would test it, and coming back, the 4th time he finally told her the truth, and it cost him. He's the dumbest man ever lived. Solomon is the wisest man that ever lived. And what did they have in common?
Weakness for women.
Yeah, women. Trouble with women. Exactly. And that's one of the things I thought about. Samson, he was just dumb when it come to women. I'm sorry. If Tracy cooked the books on the checkbook 3 or 4 months in a row, pretty soon you wouldn't let her have a checkbook, would you?
Right.
Right. I mean, you gotta cut the cord here. No, you're not carrying the checkbook anymore. If Marie fed you the wrong stuff, wrong meals, day in and day out, pretty soon you're gonna say, I'm gonna cook my own stuff.
Or Burger King's right down the road.
Burger King right down the road. Yeah. Live long and prosper. Yes. It's just things like that. They keep doing things that irritate you or show that they're not in your corner, and yet you keep coming back. And this is not even a wife. This is somebody he met and fell in love with, you know. And she is determined, which I'm fixing to get into, Leah here. She's determined. She doesn't love that man. And it doesn't say, if you read in Judges, the first woman that he met in the Philistine area was a harlot, a prostitute. It doesn't call Delilah a harlot. It just says a woman he saw and he fell in love with her. So I don't think if she was a harlot, I think the Bible would have said he saw another harlot. She was not. She was pretty shrewd. Think about it. So I thought to myself, how much money did they offer her? 1,100 shekels of silver. But that was 5 cities, 5 kings. They said, we will give you each 1,100 shekels of silver. Now Leah needs to tell me, what is the going price of today's market on the internet of 1 gram of silver?
Exactly, 1 gram spot price. Spot price of silver today.
That's what I asked.
It's $76.61 a troy ounce.
Per ounce.
Ounce. I need grams.
Kilogram is 2,463, so that's $1,024.63.
Oh, it's gone down. I checked last week, it was $36.90 per gram. 16 grams per shekel is what I read. I was looking online. I don't know if you got a different rate or not, but that come out to 88,000 grams total. And it ended up being, well, let's see how much. If you got a person coming up to you and you don't love them, and they're basically an enemy of your city-state, and there's a lot of things that he just keeps coming to my house and he won't leave me alone. And the Philistines come up and say, I will offer you $30,000 if you'll figure out where his strength comes from. Will you do it? Great, would you do that?
Yes.
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 Would you do it for $3,000?
Yes.
Yes. Well, according to my calculations, they offered her, the 5 princes, the 5 kings, they offered her $3,247,000 to sell him out. Now, would you do it for $3 million? Yes, this guy, he's not part of he's not my country. He's an enemy. He's killing people left and right. He's a judge of a country that we're at war with. Why wouldn't I sell him out? I never said I loved him. He keeps telling me he loved me, but I just would rather he go somewhere else. Give me my money and I'll go. That's who I'm looking at, Delilah. She's a businesswoman. She's not in it for the love. They're offering, according to what I figured up, at the rate that I was quoted online, and the guy told me it was 1,600 grams per shekel, and it was 5,500 shekels. And if I did the math right, that was 88,000 grams. And that come up to $3,247,000 and some change.
There's an old story, you come up and you say, hey, would you do that for $1 million? For $1 million? Yeah. Well, how about doing it for 1,000? No, you said $1 million. I said, no, we just figured out your character, now we're negotiating price.
Right. Well, that's her. They come up with the money. And so she had to figure out how to get the secret out of Samson. And I've said before, Samson being the intelligent man that he was, he sees this beautiful woman, and yeah, I like her. And he doesn't care what. She pulls on him. What do you mean there's no money in the checkbook? Well, I'm sorry. Well, okay, we'll make more money next week. He just keeps coming back. $3 million. That would have set her up for the rest of her life. Sir.
How old was Samson about this time?
From what I understand, he was 20s, something like that, because they said that they've been persecuting the Israelites for like 20 years he's man enough to get on his own now, so I'm going to say he's in his 20s. Just young and dumb. Yes, I'm sorry. I don't see Delilah being all the bad person here. I thought about this. I mean, she does some bad things, but I see a lot of Judas in her. I think she's going to get, he's been killing people left and right the whole time. God's with him. You can't beat him. And she may figure, well, cut his hair off. God will take care of it. I think that's what Judas thought when he sold out Jesus. God will take care of it. He'll get out of it. He's got out of it every other time. I got the money. He gets out. Everybody's happy. And I think that's what she's thinking. I got the money, and maybe I can get rid of this guy. Mine's on silent. So yes, here is a Philistine woman, and the Philistine kings, 5 of them, offer her 5,500 shekels. They said 10 shekels was a year's wage for a laborer, not a slave, a laborer, a skilled laborer. Like if the person, the blacksmith or the farmer, if they made 10 shekels a year, they made a good living. They offered her, each one of them are 1,100 shekels. That's 10 years apiece. That's 50 years if you didn't do anything else. At laborer cost, not slave cost. So they made an offer that was really good. But you think, how many of us would like to have $1 million to retire on? They offered her, according to my figures, $3 million. I had to do that twice because the first time I put 8,800 and I go, that's not a lot of money. But it was 88,000 grams of silver. And that was at $36 per gram. Maybe I checked the wrong website. But yeah, that's crazy money. Now she is the richest woman in town. Got power. Yes, ma'am.
It wasn't just the money, though. It says that they threatened to burn down her.
No, that was his wife that he married. He got married. Well, he went to a wedding and had the riddle, what is sweetest that comes out of the strong, and they kept. And apparently, in the Israelites, a wedding lasted 7 days where you're officially wedded, married, and his wife, to be her wife as such, kept bugging him, what's the answer to the riddle? Because they had threatened her and her family, we'll burn your house down, we'll kill your family if you don't find out. But they didn't want to buy him 300 changes of clothing. So yes, that was the first one. First one he fell in love with. And it didn't work out because they kept bugging her and she kept bugging him until he went home to die. This woman don't leave me alone. I'll tell you what the answer to the riddle is. And she went right over there. You know what I'm talking about. Never had that happen to your family, I know. But yes, you just, oh man, I just wish you'd hush and go away. Tell the answer to the riddle. She run right over there to that was the groomsman of his wedding. That's why you don't have a bunch of, where is she? She's not here this morning. Yeah, you don't have a bunch of groomsmen in the wedding because they could be trouble. Yes, that's free. But yes, that was the first one. He actually, because he'd come back months later, where's my wife? Oh, I gave her to your best man. Dad said, that's when I got a reason now. You violated my problems. Now I'm your problem now. That's when he took the foxes, 300 foxes. You gotta be pretty smart to catch 300 foxes. Tied them tail to tail and put a torch between the tails, lit it, let them go. And he burned up all the grain in the Philistines' farm. And that just, that's when that happened. This is later when he actually went to Philistine and saw the harlot and told his mom, Dad, I like the way she looks, get her for me. That's just, I know where mom and dad, where their head's not screwed on to straight either, I think, Tell the kid no. Slap him in the head, do something, just get him straight. You don't talk to your mom and dad like that, tell them that's just what I want. Sorry.
These men also have a problem with falling asleep too hard, like Dale.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, his head was shaved while he was sleeping.
It was a real sharp knife.
Well, I'm just saying, she put him to sleep on her lap, on her knees.
Yep.
And had somebody come in and shave his head while he's sleeping. That is so, like, are you kidding me?
Well, maybe he didn't go to the same beauty shop you went to. Maybe they were really, really good at shaving the head.
Your son used to fall asleep while I was cutting his hair.
Okay.
He was 3, so, yeah.
That may say something for Samson.
But his hair had been growing all of his life, and I don't think they had to cut off all of his hair.
I think
don't
they just
shaved
cut it right next to his head.
I think they just cut it.
Well, it depends on the word shave.
Yeah.
It says shave.
They don't shave a sheep, they shore them. They shore them. They have clippers that we close, but it's not shaved, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, the first incident was he actually got married, and then the father of the bride gave her away to his best man. That's a slap, isn't it? And that was his friend. And then he shows up again, and that didn't work out, and he got mad. That was one of his problems, is controlling his temper. Sir?
God appointed him to be a judge, right?
Yeah. I don't know. He's the right man for the job. He's going to go out there and whoop them. I don't think he didn't do too good a job of judging the Israelites. I think he did a pretty good job of judging the Philistines. But there was a two-lane road there, and as I think Greg brought up, they had to take care of problems at home. And that's just, I don't see Samson being a real good, strong leader as far as taking care of problems at home. He didn't, That's where I got away from Delilah being the main problem of the whole story and Samson being the problem. Because she's doing what she's got to do to make a big living. She wasn't making a living, she was making a big living. But yes, so now Samson has made enemies, the Philistines, real mad when he burned up all their wheat, all their corn, whatever it was, the grain that they had growing. I imagine a fox would take off if you lit a torch between 2 tails. That would be they're going to leave everywhere. So that's what he did. Then he went down to the Philistine area and saw the harlot and told his mom and dad to like her. I always thought of I don't know why, but I think of Stallone being did a good movie for a Samson. Hey, get her for me, just he played that, like a Rambo kind of guy. Just that's what I always envision when I think of Samson. So yes, it's then he meets Delilah. He falls in love with her. He never said he wanted to marry her. And apparently he has been having relationships with her. This is ongoing. The Philistines see him. Hey, you need to get his secret. We will pay you really good money to get that secret. So, what did the first thing he said to Delilah? What's my secret? And what did he tell her?
Oh, the first time?
The first time. Green cords, wasn't it? Green, like reeds. You tie me up with green cords. It's not dry, but green. What's the difference between a green vine and and it dried out by him.
Stretches.
Can hardly break that.
Hard to break, yeah. So, yeah, that's how to do it. She ties him up and, hey, the Philistines are here. Okay, that should have been a red sign right there. Okay, what did she just do?
That's called
Oh,
betrayal.
you lied to me. You shouldn't have you told me the wrong thing. What's your secret? And then he tells her, you tie me up with new ropes. Same thing. New ropes are stronger than old. And it probably, I don't know, manila? That comes to my head. A fiber of a vegetable type. But we didn't have nylon back then. So
They obviously had strong ropes for their ships, so
Yes.
they knew how to make rope.
So yeah, you tie me up with ropes, tie me up good and strong. I can't do a thing about it. She does the same thing. The Philistines are here. They're inside the tent, the house, waiting in another room. They're here. He busts the ropes. You lied to me again. Well, you've done it twice. You've done this twice to me, woman. What do I need to do at this point? If I'm Samson,
Leave.
Well,
leave.
Well, and it makes it sound like it happened like one day this happened, the next day that makes it happen like it happened
Yeah, that's-
real close together. I can see if 5 years ago she did this.
No, this
but
is-
no.
I'm thinking maybe a week apart, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
Like you-
only that, she keeps saying, the Philistines are upon you, you know, like, she's testing him, he's clueless.
I told you,
I know.
to me, he's the dumbest man alive. I'm sorry. And he's in a Philistine city. They would be, they know he's the enemy number one. They would be waiting for him any chance they get. So, but not in the same house. That's typical. That tells me she's in with them people. I'm sorry.
She has to be a really good actress she's, and a seductress too.
Yeah. So now the third time, we're getting closer to the truth. What does he say? What's the third time that she asks me? You just lied to me twice. Now you're just making me an embarrassment in my whole city.
Weave 7 locks of my hair with the web and fasten it with a pin, and I'll become weak. Like you.
So he weave his hair together and pin it up. And what does she do? We'll weave this stuff right up, right now. And the Philistines are on you. He jumps up and he pulls the pin out, shakes his hair out, thinking Fabio here, and get after him. Well, it might have shook his brains out because that's the third time. Oh, Samson, you lied to me again. Did she ever lie to him? She never said she loved him. She told him the truth. The Philistines are on you.
Well, yeah, but we have little snippets here and there, but if you think about a man and woman in their relationship, I don't think the Bible is going to go explicitly into all these things that are going on, but there are times when a woman probably has a little bit of an advantage.
Especially if you're clueless. Yeah.
Well, and he's probably strong, but he's not very his mental acuity or his mental faculties are not the sharpest.
We used to say it in the power plant, he's strong as an ox and almost as smart. Yes.
And almost as
Sir.
You wonder why he was this dumb. Since the Lord, he had the Spirit of the Lord with him.
Yeah.
And if he was really bad, they wouldn't have made him a judge. But the fact that he's a judge makes me say that he's probably been in situations where he's had to do things, and
I don't know. I think he might have been a judge of the Philistines more than the Israelites. That's the way I'm looking at it. But he just, when it come to women, the brain just turned off. I'm sorry. We used to have a hog dog when we hunted, me and Dick Warren, and that dog got a hold of an ear. If she was a little female, her eyes would roll back in her head, and she was done. You'd beat her off that hog before she'd let go. And I think that's the way Samson is. He meets a woman he likes, his eyes roll back in his head, and he's not letting go. I'm sorry. That's just the way I get out of the story. He's not gonna let go. No matter three times she's been deceived by him, and three times he's not caught on. The fourth time, the third time was the locks of hair. That's getting close to the truth. It involved the hair. Ma'am?
I don't want to interrupt your thought.
Go ahead, I'll lose it anyway.
I was just thinking, I don't think he's a judge in the sense that Deborah was a judge. Sitting under a tree, judging the people. I think he was, I think he judged the Philistines for God against Israel. You know, as far as being like a warrior, I don't think he was just like a smart
Well,
judging the people the way we might think a judge is. I don't think he was that kind of a judge.
go back to
Yeah,
Judges.
chapter 13 and 16.
It does say one spot there where let me find it, where he said his mother and father didn't know it was from God that he had chosen Samson to find a reason to go against the Philistines. So I think that's his main purpose, is to get the Philistines riled up, and I've got a reason to go against you.
In Judges 15:20, it says, and Samson judged Israel in the days of the Philistines 20 years.
Okay? Well,
I don't think it had to do anything with smart making judgments like Solomon made judgments. I think it was more a judgment of,
Well, he said
he
he
made
judged,
war against them.
but he said he judged Israel.
he
so-
judged Israel. Maybe, I don't know.
And he
It's-
judged Israel for 20 years, so he certainly didn't do it at his birth. So
No.
when you ask about how old he was, I think we're starting to get up into the 40-year.
Yeah. And it may be that he's a pretty good judge until a woman walks by. Maybe that's it. I'm sorry. Okay, so he tells her the truth. If you cut my hair off, I'll be just like everybody else. And what's he thinking? If she cuts my hair off, I'll be like everybody else, and I broke my vow, which that's the only thing he's taken seriously so far, is his vow to not cut his hair. Is he thinking, well, I'll be okay, God will forgive me? I don't know, because when she said, the Philistines are here, and he jumps up, well, I'll take care of this. Uh-oh. And he didn't realize, it says he did not realize that God had left him.
So it seems like he just assumed that it's gonna be like every other time.
I think that this will pass. That tells us something we need to think about. You know, when we basically take a vow to God to obey Him, become His child, when we become a Christian. When we obey the gospel, we're basically taking a vow in a sense, in every sense. And when we break that vow, are we thinking the same thing? Well, it'll get better. It'll get over. We'll get through this. Things will be like it was. You know, and lucky for us, we have a avenue of being, you know, prayer and repentance and things like that. We can come back to God. And Samson, the same thing. God did come back to him. But it was after he changed his ideas. So we have an avenue when we take on Christianity and we don't live up to it. We do have a way of coming back to God. You know, Samson, he pushed the edge as far as he could, the boundaries, I think. When they grabbed Samson, he's not strong anymore. What's the first thing they did?
Blinded him.
Gouged. They didn't say. I saw a movie a long time ago where they took a sword, heated up, glowing, and held it in front of his eyes, and it burned his eyes where he couldn't see anymore. They didn't say that. They said gouge his eyes out. When I was in high school, we were studying hand-to-hand defense from a sergeant. You know, he was airborne. Sergeant Bragg, I believe was his name. And he was teaching a bunch of high schoolers hand-to-hand combat, basically. And that's the first thing he said. You get a man on the ground, you go for the eyes. That you just put your thumbs in there and they like grapes. Yeah, the first thing he told us, you get if he's on you and you get a chance, you put your thumbs in his eyes. That's basically, and what, this happened, come in my head this morning, things just fly through, you know, not much to stop them. What's the one thing that got Samson in trouble more than anything?
Seeing women.
See, I like the way she looked, get her for me. God took care of that right away. First thing, you don't have that side anymore. Yes. Then what's the second thing they did to him?
Bound him.
Bound him in bronze chains. So now he had freedom to go and come where he wanted to. Took care of that. He's not going anywhere now. You know, he could go to the Philistine cities. He could, you know, he did whatever he wanted. He went where he wanted to go. He was the man. Nobody gonna bother him. Yes, so took his eyes out, took his freedom away. What's the last thing they did to him?
Humiliated him.
Humiliated. Took his pride, took his honor, whatever. If you can say he had any honor. So you think, I don't know how long it says, that I don't remember how long he was a prisoner. It doesn't say. But you think he did some thinking while he was pushing that grinding mill around, not being able to see anything? You think he was thinking about, man, I made a mess of this. Yep. I mean, these bronze chains, my eyes are gone, I have no freedom, they humiliated me, and all I'm good for is push that grinding wheel around, that grinding wheel, millstone. He had to do some thinking. Yeah, think about what God, I'm sorry, he had to. So,
Are you getting ready to tie this to a New Testament scripture?
not yet. No, you can do that.
I don't want to say it. If
Go
you're going to
for
say
it. Go for it. I haven't.
The lust of the eyes, they bound his flesh, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. They humiliated him.
What did John say? There's three things in the world: lust of the eyes, pride of life, and the other one.
I'm quite sure I've never learned that before, so I'm glad I showed up today.
Well, thank you. Man, I taught him something. But they took everything away from him. They took all of his opportunities to continue living the life that he lived. It's just, they've done him in. Sir?
You could apply that scripture to Solomon too.
Oh, yeah.
Solomon led away like with
Well, I mentioned that right in the beginning.
700 wives or something.
700 wives and 300 concubines. Yeah. Talk about a headache. Whew. Yeah. You try to remember 1,000 women's names or get them straight. You call her the wrong name, how much trouble you were in.
No,
You
Yeah.
have known their names.
Probably not. Maybe not. They, you. So that's, there's Samson right there. They've taken everything away from him. And then he has got time to reflect. Because that's all he's good for now, is just walking in a circle, pushing a millstone around, grinding the grain. And then they have a big to-do, get together, a holiday of sort. Let's bring Samson out and let him amuse us. This was the guy that killed 1,000 men. I looked up, have you ever looked up to see what a jawbone of a donkey looks like? That's a bad looking dude. It looks just like a cleaver. Yeah, there was actually weapons made. They took a little leather and wrapped it around the teeth. You grab the nose end of it, and the other end is like a cleaver. I said, well, I looked at that and I said, that is kind of a impressive looking thing. You could do some damage if you were halfway strong or fully strong. He killed 1,000 men with a jawbone of a donkey. So you think, yeah, they want to amuse, because look what our God did. We put him in our prison. Ma'am?
You said he thought he was the man, so he had a lot of pride.
Yeah.
And so I think he was just trying to play games with Delilah. He wasn't afraid of what she might do. He was playing games, telling her, do this, and he knew that wasn't the answer. But he was so full of pride and that they can't touch me, that he let his guard down. But he really didn't think anybody could hurt him because he was so powerful. Right.
You're doing what I'm doing, getting Samson's head. How was he thinking? Why did he do that? And what Steve said, you know, you look at Solomon. Well, I said that at the very beginning. The dumbest man alive, Samson, in my opinion, and the wisest man to ever live, Solomon. They both have women problems. You know, Solomon led him away from God. I think, if you think about it, Delilah did him a favor. She led him to God more than anything. I think he got more in tune with what God needed him to do before it was over, when it was over. And he's humiliated. Yes, sir.
You could really say that women have led men astray from the beginning. Look at Eve.
Eve, here, eat this apple. What an apple. But yes, it's good, sir.
So Judges 16:16, Caroline said, it came about when she pressed him daily with her words and urged him that his soul was annoyed to death.
Yeah. Just, man, I wish this one would just leave me
Like,
alone.
yeah.
Yet he keeps coming back. Yes.
I don't think too that just because his hair grew back, that's because he got strength.
No,
God
I
was
think,
with him. I don't think, I mean, the fact that they say that,
well, I think his hair grew back and he knew. I think that gave him hope. And you gotta have hope. If we didn't have hope for heaven, what would we work for? What would be going through our minds? If we don't have heaven, we don't have anything. We gotta have hope. The hair is growing back. I hope this works. Yes. But it really and truly wasn't the hair, what you said. It wasn't the hair, it was the fact that he's thinking of God now instead of himself. Yeah, it's just, yes.
well, he's kind of still thinking of himself because he says, let me do this to avenge for my 2 eyes.
Well, and take care of this problem.
Yeah.
You know, that they killed more Philistines when he pushed the temple down than in his whole life. But yeah, there was the men and women in the bottom, and then there was, I think it said 3,000 people on top of the roof. So I don't know how big the arena was. But yes, so he made a big circle, basically. He's come back around. He left God and he come back around. He's basically doing the same thing Israel was doing at this time, making a big circle. But it's, in the end, he's figured it out. God is where I need to be. And that's what we've got to figure out. Because we're running a circle too. Sir.
Yeah, I think that's the whole idea about the hair. You know, growing up, you hear the story. Well, then his hair grew again, and now he's got his strength back. And like Tommy said, it was God, not his actual hair. But it's kind of a sign that hey, he obeyed all his vow. He stuck to his vow up until he got it cut off, and then he was without. But then it's like, okay, he's back to not cutting his hair again and doing what he has to do. And it has. You mentioned you didn't know how long he was in prison, but it was long enough that he was the grinder down there, and he was in prison, and his hair did grow back. So he was probably during that whole time giving his life back to God somewhat. And it also says that he judged Israel for 20 years. So I'm not sure how long all of that was. But,
Think about this now. Things just run through my head. The Philistines, I don't think they thought his hair caused him to be strong either. Because if you got the man that had long hair and he killed everybody, he cut it every week. You're getting another haircut every week. Maybe every morning, just, keep it cut short. I think they knew that the hair wasn't the strength. It was God. And I think they knew that God had left him because we've got him now. We've won. But God will come back. God will allow you to return if you are repentant. That's the main, we mess up every day. Every day we make a mess of things. Samson just did it a little differently, but yet we're the same as him. So yes, it's just, we've got to let our hair grow back up. Get back to God. Think about what God wants, and that's what we need to be doing. But it's time to, yes, sir.
two things. What Kevin read about the woman being an annoyance to him. In today's vernacular, we would say she nagged him to death.
Uh-huh.
And the second thing was, do this, do that to me. Do this or do that to me, and I'll be just like anybody else. And I think he was basically the same size as everybody else. He was not a Hulk Hogan type guy.
Nope, I think so too.
It was his hair that he.
Because if he was gigantic, big size, listen, he's strong because he's strong.
Right.
Now, he could have been just like me or you, and God made him strong.
Right.
Yes, that made it even more impactful, the fact that God did this. That's like Gideon going to war with 300 men versus a whole army. God did this. So yes, that was another point. Okay,